Your heart does it before your brain does. That's sudden quickening. The way a single person makes the whole room rearrange itself. The way time does something strange when they look at you. You call it love. And you've been told it's modern. Complicated. A product of romance novels and Hollywood and social media and all the noise of the 21st century. But here's what the fossils say. Here's what the brain scans say. Here's what 300,000 years of human evidence says. Love isn't modern. Love is ancient. Love might be the most ancient thing you carry. And your ancestors, the ones huddled around fires in the dark, the ones who painted caves with ochre and hunted across open plains and watched stars they had no names for, they felt it too. Exactly like you do. So what did they do with it? When an ancient human fell in love, they didn't write a poem. They didn't send flowers. They didn't swipe right. They did something far older. And when you understand what it was, you'll never look at love the same way again. Let's start with the science, because the science is the revelation. In 2005, anthropologist Helen Fisher at Rutgers University put people who had just fallen in love into a brain scanner. She showed them photographs of their new partners. And what lit up in their brains wasn't the region associated with emotion. It was the region associated with reward. With craving. With motivation. The same region that responds to cocaine. Fisher had studied love across 37 different cultures, from Brazil to Japan to South Africa to Finland. And she found the same thing everywhere. Love isn't a feeling. It's a drive. As powerful and as old as hunger. As old as thirst. It evolved not to make us feel good, but to focus our attention on a single individual long enough to reproduce and raise a child together. Your ancient ancestor's brain, standing on an African savanna 200,000 years ago, was running the same program yours runs today. And it started the same way yours does. With looking. Before language existed in the form we'd recognize, ancient humans communicated desire through display. 75,000 years ago, at Blombos Cave on the southern coast of South Africa, someone sat down and drilled tiny holes into small shells. One by one. They strung those shells together and wore them. These are the oldest personal ornaments ever found. Older than cave paintings. Older than burial rituals as we understand them. Older than almost every artifact we associate with human sophistication. Why did they make them? The same reason you get dressed in the morning. The same reason you do something with your hair. Display. The announcement of self. The ancient, wordless broadcast, here I am. Look at me. Evolutionary biologists call this sexual selection, the idea that our ancestors who were best at attracting partners passed down their genes, which means they also passed down the impulse to attract. The shells at Blombos weren't jewelry. They were courtship. They were someone trying to get noticed by someone specific. Love, in its earliest form, was an act of decoration. But ancient love wasn't just about looking. Among the Kung San hunter-gatherers of southern Africa, a people whose way of life preserves many features of our Paleolithic ancestors, anthropologist Polly Wiesner documented a practice called haxaro. A complex system of gift exchange that built and maintained social bonds across vast distances. Haxaro gifts weren't practical. They weren't food or tools. They were small, beautiful things. Beads. Ornaments. Objects made with effort and care. And they were given between people with deep emotional significance, including between romantic partners. The gift said what words couldn't. Or didn't need to. Your ancestor handed someone a small, worked piece of ochre. A carved bone pendant. A perfect shell they'd carried for days. And the other person held it, and they understood. In communities where survival depended on every calorie, on every hour of effort, choosing to spend time making something beautiful for another person was itself the declaration. The effort was the message. I thought about you. I made this. It's yours. Now let's reconstruct the moment. Picture your ancestor. She's in her late teens. Her band has been traveling for 3 days, following the movement of herds across a flat, dry landscape. They've stopped near a water source, a spring that never quite dries up, surrounded by trees with pale bark and flat-top canopies. Another band is already there. She sees him across the camp. He's laughing at something, a real laugh, unguarded. He's moving with the easy confidence of someone at home in his body. And something happens in her chest. Something her body does without asking her permission. That night, around the fire, their groups sit together. Helen Fisher's research tells us what's happening in her brain. The dopamine system flooding with attention. The norepinephrine sharpening every detail, the way firelight catches his face, the exact sound of his voice. The cortisol keeping her alert, slightly anxious, charged. She doesn't have a word for what she's feeling. But she knows exactly what it is. The next morning, before the band separate, he brings her something. A small red ochre bead on a cord he's had around his wrist. He holds it out. She takes it. That's the ancient love story. And it's not small. It's enormous. Because what's happening between them is the same mechanism that has been tested against 300,000 years of human survival, refined by selection until only its most powerful form remains. They are doing exactly what worked. Here's the counterintuitive part. Here's what the evidence doesn't match with what we've been told. We assume ancient love was purely practical. A transaction. He hunts, she gathers, they survive together. A partnership of necessity rather than feeling. The brain scans say otherwise. And so do the graves. Ian Tattersall, the paleoanthropologist at the American Museum of Natural History, has argued that the very capacity for symbolic thought, the ability to make a shell stand for a feeling, to carve a face into bone, to imagine someone when they're not in front of you, is the same capacity that makes romantic love possible. Because love requires imagination. You have to be able to hold an idea of a person in your mind. To picture a future with them that doesn't exist yet. Ancient humans buried their partners with care. They placed objects alongside the dead, tools, ornaments, ochre. Pollen has been found in Neanderthal burial sites, suggesting flowers were placed there deliberately. Not because it was practical. Because something in them needed to do it. Something that couldn't be explained by survival alone. We used to call that irrationality. The science calls it attachment. And it's very, very old. And here's where it lands for you. You live in a world saturated with images of love. With algorithms designed to simulate desire. With swipe-right mechanics that turn attraction into a game. With the constant cultural pressure that love is supposed to look a certain way, arrive on a certain schedule, follow a certain script. And a lot of people report that it's never felt harder to find. More distant. More like something they're failing at. But your brain isn't running that program. Your brain is running Helen Fisher's program. It's running 300,000 years of successful bonding strategy. It's looking for the laugh across the fire. It's noticing the unguarded moment. It's calculating the cost of the gift, not in money, but in attention. In the evidence that someone spent their limited time thinking about you specifically. Ancient love had no words for itself. No rituals borrowed from culture. No script handed down from a ceremony. It had only this: I noticed you. I kept noticing you. I did something that cost me something, just to let you know. That was the declaration. And it worked for 300,000 years. Your heart does it before your brain does. That quickening. That rearranging of the room. Your ancestor felt it standing at a spring 70,000 years ago, holding a shell in her hand, watching someone she'd just met laugh for the very first time. And it meant exactly what it means when it happens to you. Everything.